There was an unusual silence inside the Galactic Council chamber. 900 civilizations, thousands of years of conquest. And then one name appeared on the screen, Earth. One council member laughed, "They fight their own kind." Another sneered, "Primitive. Divided. Emotional." The vote was cast, the invasion was approved. But what they didn't understand was this. The moment humanity is cornered, rules stop mattering. And attacking Earth was about to become the greatest mistake in galactic history. The Galactic Council chamber was not a place where silence existed. For 10,000 cycles, its halls had echoed with constant debate, voices of conquerors, diplomats, scientists, and executioners. 900 civilizations sat in concentric rings of levitating platforms, each species a monument to survival and dominance. Yet today, there was silence. At the center of the chamber, a massive holographic sphere rotated slowly. Star systems flickered across its surface, glowing and fading as data streams poured in. Then the image stabilized. One small, blue world appeared. Designation, Sol 3. Local name, Earth. Dominant species, Homo sapiens. A ripple of amusement spread through the chamber. They finally reached orbital capability, sneered the Krellith overlord, his armored mandibles clicking with disdain. "I thought they would destroy themselves before that." Laughter followed. Sharp. Mocking. "They are violent," said a tall, translucent being from the Loam Collective. "Their history is nothing but war. Yet every conflict is against their own species." "A divided species," another counselor added. "Nation against nation. Ideology against ideology. Inefficient." The hologram shifted, displaying human wars, ancient battlefields, modern cities burning, mushroom clouds rising. "Look at them," said the Vraxian strategist. "They spend more resources killing each other than exploring their own system." Several council members nodded in agreement. To the Galactic Council, strength was unity. Control. Order. Humans had none of those, at least, not on the surface. The Archivist AI spoke next, its voice emotionless and precise. "Analysis complete. Humanity has not achieved faster-than-light travel. No planetary shield network detected. Military power localized and fragmented." The conclusion was obvious. "Primitive," someone muttered. The High Arbiter of the Council rose from his platform, towering over the others, his voice resonating through the chamber. "Earth sits on an unstable edge of the Orion Arm. Its planet is rich. Water. Biomass. Adaptable genetic material. A pause. Resources that would be better utilized by the galaxy." There it was. The real reason. The High Arbiter raised a clawed limb. "The question before us is simple. Do we allow this volatile species to spread beyond their system, or do we end the risk now?" A projection appeared, probability models. Human expansion risk, 73%. Future conflict potential, 89%. Galactic disruption index, critical. The council murmured. "They are emotional," said the Threx matron. "Unpredictable. Such species either burn out or burn everything around them." The Vraxian strategist leaned forward. "Our simulations show they will eventually weaponize curiosity itself." That drew attention. "They do not fear failure," the strategist continued. "They learn from it." A few council members hesitated. But hesitation was rare in a chamber built by conquerors. "We have faced stronger species," the Krellith overlord scoffed. "We erased them." "Yes," the High Arbiter replied calmly. "And humans are not stronger." The final data stream appeared. Recommended action, preemptive neutralization. Silence returned. Then, one by one, council members activated their vote sigils. Green. 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 A handful of yellow, concern, not opposition. No red. The decision was unanimous enough. The High Arbiter lowered his limb. Mobilize the 7th and 9th fleets. Target, Sol System. A distant star flickered on the hologram. Begin operation, he said coldly. Silent dawn. As the fleets were authorized and war engines began to awaken across the galaxy, no one in that chamber questioned the outcome. After all, how dangerous could a species be that couldn't even stop fighting itself? They never noticed one small anomaly in the data stream. A line flagged and ignored. Human behavioral pattern, extreme adaptation under existential threat. The chamber lights dimmed. The invasion of Earth had begun. Earth did not feel primitive. Not from the ground. The planet breathed with motion, millions of small, unconnected lives moving in patterns too complex for any single system to predict. Cities pulsed with light. Data flowed through invisible channels. Machines spoke to machines, and humans argued with both. To the Galactic Council, Earth was divided. To Earth, division was normal. In a research facility buried beneath kilometers of rock, a human scientist frowned at a screen filled with noise. That's not cosmic background radiation, she said quietly. Across the room, a military analyst leaned closer. You're saying it's artificial? I'm saying, she replied, someone is watching us. Far above the planet, alien probes drifted silently, their sensors dissecting the world below. They cataloged weapons, counted satellites, measured emissions. They missed the important parts. They saw armies. They did not see volunteers. They saw governments. They did not see civilians who rebuilt cities faster than they were destroyed. They saw conflict. They did not see what came after it. On another continent, an aging engineer listened as the power grid failed for exactly half a second. EMP test, he muttered. Too clean. In a dim apartment filled with monitors, a teenage hacker smiled. That's not solar interference, she whispered. That's bad code. Across oceans and borders, small alarms went off, not official ones, but human ones. Instincts sharpened by centuries of surviving disasters, wars, plagues, and collapse. Earth didn't panic. Not yet. The Galactic Council's probes observed and updated their files. Human response, disorganized. Central command, fragmented. Threat level, minimal. They didn't understand that humans had never relied on a single command. In a hospital running on backup generators, doctors continued surgery without pause. In a factory long written off as obsolete, machines from a forgotten era were powered on analog controls, immune to digital interference. In a military bunker, an officer stared at a blank satellite feed and laughed softly. Guess we're back to basics, he said. Humans adapted. It was not heroic. It was not coordinated. It was instinct. History had trained them for it. They had survived ice ages with stone tools. They had survived global wars with broken treaties. They had survived extinction-level threats created by their own hands. And every time, they learned. The alien probes continued to scan. They saw no planetary shield. No unified fleet. No response worthy of attention. One probe transmitted its conclusion back to the fleet assembling beyond the edge of the system. Subject species remains unaware. No significant resistance detected. That assessment was incomplete. Because beneath Earth's chaos, something else was happening. Human networks rerouted. Old protocols were dusted off. Languages, cultures, and borders blurred, not in unity, but in necessity. A pattern began to emerge. Not order. Resilience. In a classroom turned emergency shelter, a teacher spoke calmly as distant thunder echoed overhead. This isn't the first time the world has felt like it's ending, she told the children. And it won't be the last. Somewhere in orbit, an alien sensor registered a spike. Human communication volume increased exponentially. The data was flagged. Then dismissed. Noise, the alien analyst concluded. Fear response. But it wasn't fear. It was preparation. On Earth, humanity didn't know who was coming. They didn't know why. But they knew one thing. Something was wrong. And when something threatened their home, humans did what they had always done. They stopped arguing. They stopped waiting. They started building. Above the planet, the first alien warship crossed the heliopause. The Galactic Council still believed Earth was primitive. They had no idea. They had just stepped into a world that evolved through catastrophe. The first sign of invasion was not fire. It was silence. Across Earth's orbit, satellites went dark, one by one, then in waves. Communication arrays froze mid-transmission. GPS systems stuttered, recalculated, and failed. For a fraction of a second, the planet blinked. Then the sky changed. Above the atmosphere, space itself seemed to tear open as alien vessels decelerated into real space. Massive silhouettes emerged, sleek, angular structures that swallowed starlight and cast impossible shadows over the planet below. They did not announce themselves. They did not negotiate. The Galactic Council had already decided. High above Earth, the Seventh Fleet aligned its formation. Thousands of ships moved with mechanical precision, their weapons charging in cold synchronization. Begin Phase 1, came the order. The attack started with light. A burst of directed energy slammed into Earth's magnetosphere, flooding it with artificial radiation. EMP waves rolled outward, racing across the globe at the speed of physics. Power grids failed. Cities went dark. Aircraft lost guidance and were forced into emergency descents. Stock exchanges froze mid-trade. Digital systems everywhere screamed and went silent. From orbit, the alien commanders observed calmly. Target civilization neutralized, one reported. Technological collapse achieved. The Galactic Council watched through real-time feeds. Efficient, the High Arbiter remarked. As expected. They were wrong. On Earth, the darkness lasted less than a minute. Backup systems activated. Generators roared to life. Analog switches were flipped by human hands that had trained for scenarios exactly like this. In a coastal city, emergency lights flickered on inside a naval command center. Satellites are gone, an officer said. Radar too. Another replied without hesitation. Then we fight blind. In a rural airfield, old aircraft, long considered obsolete, were rolled out of hangars. No digital avionics. No network dependency. Just fuel. Steel. Pilots. In a subterranean facility, a scientist stared at incoming radiation data. That wasn't a weapon test, she said. That was a declaration of war. The first kinetic strikes followed moments later. Alien bombardment platforms fired precise beams at military installations, communication hubs, and industrial centers. Explosions tore through the night sky. Shockwaves rippled across continents. Cities burned. The Galactic Council monitored casualty projections. Resistance remains minimal, an analyst reported. Their response is chaotic. But chaos was misleading. Humans did not fight like machines. They fought like survivors. As alien landing craft descended into Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. They were tracked. Not by satellites. By eyes. Observers on rooftops. Farmers in open fields. Amateur astronomers who recognized movement that didn't belong. Warnings spread through human channels faster than any official broadcast. In a desert region, the first alien ground force deployed. Their technology was flawless. Their strategy, less so. The terrain was wrong. The atmosphere behaved differently. And the humans did not flee as predicted. They scattered. They hid. They watched. An alien commander frowned at his tactical display. Why are they not forming defensive lines? The answer came in fragments. Explosions ripped through the landing zone, not from advanced weapons, but improvised ones. Human-made. Crude. Effective. Supply lines were disrupted. Drones went missing. Signals were jammed, not by superior technology, but by overwhelming noise. Human noise. On Earth, something shifted. Panic gave way to anger. Anger gave way to purpose. Across the planet, messages spread through whatever channels remained. They are here. This is not a drill. Defend your home. In a city under bombardment, a firefighter looked up at the burning sky and spoke into a broken radio. "We're still standing," he said. "Tell them that." Above the planet, the 7th Fleet began receiving unexpected reports. Ground units encountering resistance. Multiple ships experiencing system interference. Human tactics are unconventional. The Galactic Council grew uneasy. This was not in the projections, the High Arbiter said. The alien strategist hesitated before replying. They are adapting. A single word flashed across the Council's central display, unimportant to most species. Escalation. The invasion of Earth was no longer a clean operation. It was a fight. And humanity had just realized. They were not alone in the universe. And they were not going to surrender their world. The Galactic Council believed they understood war. They measured it in fleets, energy output, and casualty curves. Every conflict they had ever fought followed predictable equations. Superior technology crushed inferior civilizations. Resistance collapsed. Order was restored. Humans did not follow equations. Within hours of the first attack, Earth's digital world had been torn apart and then rebuilt, piece by piece, in ways no algorithm could anticipate. In a hidden facility, a captured alien drone lay dismantled on a steel table. Human engineers surrounded it, arguing loudly, excitedly, their hands already stained with grease and burned circuits. "It's not using conventional power flow," one said. "Good," another replied. "That means we can break it." They weren't afraid of the unknown. They were curious. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Downed alien probes were recovered, stripped, studied, and repurposed. What alien scientists had spent centuries perfecting, humans tore apart in hours, not to copy it, but to understand it. Alien materials were cut open with tools never designed for them. Human tools adapted. Human minds adapted faster. An alien science vessel monitoring Earth flagged a warning. Unusual technological progression detected, the analyst reported. They are reverse engineering active systems. How demanded a superior. They lack our databases. They are improvising. On Earth, military commanders abandoned rigid doctrine. Plans changed hourly. Units operated independently, communicating through whatever means worked, radio, light signals, even handwritten messages carried by drones. There was no single strategy. There were thousands. In a mountain bunker, a general watched battle footage and smiled grimly. "They're expecting patterns," he said. "Let's disappoint them." Humanity's greatest strength wasn't unity. It was diversity. Different nations. Different methods. Different ideas. All colliding, competing, and evolving in real time. Alien forces encountered resistance that made no sense. Ambushes without supply lines. Weapons built from civilian technology. Countermeasures designed overnight. An alien commander watched as his shield failed, not because it was weak, but because humans had overloaded it with nonsense. "Why are they broadcasting random electromagnetic noise?" he demanded. The answer was simple. Humans didn't know what would work. So they tried everything. And something always did. In orbit, a human team achieved what the Galactic Council had deemed impossible. They hacked an alien relay. Not by cracking its encryption. By tricking it. Human programmers noticed that the alien system assumed perfect logic from all inputs. It didn't account for mistakes. They fed it errors. The system accepted them, then collapsed. For the first time in recorded galactic history, an invasion fleet lost coordination, not to superior firepower, but to weaponized unpredictability. The council chamber erupted in argument. They're breaking protocols. They shouldn't be capable of this. The archivist AI updated its projections. Human threat assessment, escalating. Adaptation rate, abnormal. One alien scientist spoke quietly, her voice filled with unease. They're not fighting like a civilization, she said. They're fighting like an ecosystem. On Earth, the cost was high. Cities burned. Lives were lost. Entire regions were scarred. But something else emerged from the destruction. Focus. The fear that had ruled the early hours was replaced by resolve. Human media, what little remained, broadcast simple messages. Stay alive. Help each other. Learn fast. In a ruined city, a civilian used alien debris to power a makeshift generator. In another, a mechanic turned an alien energy cell into a weapon, then improved it after it exploded in his face. Humans did not wait for permission. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They acted. And every action taught them something new. Above Earth, an alien admiral stared at his tactical display as another drone feed went dark. They are learning faster than we are, he admitted. The statement spread through the fleet. Then through the council. Then through the galaxy. Humanity had not broken. They had evolved. And the longer the war lasted, the more dangerous they became. The moment humans stopped reacting, the war changed. Until then, the alien fleets had controlled the tempo, strike, observe, adjust. That rhythm had defined every conquest in their history. Then Earth broke the rhythm. It began quietly. An alien reconnaissance cruiser vanished near the edge of Earth's orbit. No explosion. No distress signal. It simply disappeared. The Galactic Council dismissed it as a sensor failure. Then a second ship went dark. And a third. Aboard the 7th Fleet flagship, an alarm echoed through the command deck. Multiple vessels offline, an officer reported. Cause unknown. The alien admiral stared at the tactical map. The pattern made no sense. Human ships, primitive, atmospheric craft retrofitted for space, were appearing where no human asset should exist. They didn't move in formation. They didn't broadcast identification. They moved like hunters. The first confirmed counterattack came without warning. A human strike team, using a captured alien shuttle, slammed into the flank of a destroyer-class vessel. They didn't fire immediately. They boarded. The aliens had never considered the possibility. Their ships were designed to fight other fleets, not intruders willing to die inside their hulls. Human soldiers cut through corridors, bypassing sealed bulkheads with tools that had no place in advanced warfare, explosives, torches, brute force. They didn't aim for the bridge. They aimed for the engines. When the destroyer detonated, the shockwave tore through nearby formations, scattering ships that had never needed to maneuver defensively. On Earth, human engineers cheered. In orbit, alien commanders froze. They are using our own vessels against us, an officer said in disbelief. Yes, the admiral replied. And they're improving them. Human modifications were crude, by alien standards. But they worked. Captured energy weapons were rewired to overload. Shield harmonics were intentionally destabilized. Human pilots learned alien flight physics through trial, error, and wreckage. A human voice cut through a hijacked alien comm channel. "Hey," it said casually. "Your stuff breaks really well." The transmission ended. Panic rippled through the alien fleet. This was not how wars were supposed to unfold. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. "They've destroyed 3 capital ships," an analyst reported. "Using asymmetrical tactics." "Asymmetrical," the Krellith overlord roared. They are savages. They are innovators, the archivist AI corrected. And they are accelerating. The projections shifted violently. Human casualty rates were high. But human effectiveness was rising faster. On Earth, something unprecedented occurred. Rival nations shared technology without negotiation. Corporations opened classified research to military use. Civilians volunteered for tasks that should have been impossible. The species that had once fought itself over ideology now fought for survival. In space, the first human-built hybrid warship entered combat. It was ugly. It was inefficient. It was terrifying. Alien sensors struggled to classify it. Its signature changed constantly as human engineers modified it mid-battle. When it fired, an alien cruiser's shields collapsed in seconds, not from superior power, but from deliberate interference humans barely understood, yet exploited perfectly. This is unacceptable, the High Arbiter said. Increase force. End this. The Ninth Fleet was ordered forward. It arrived to find a battlefield that no longer obeyed galactic doctrine. Human minds disguised as debris. Electronic warfare that behaved like chaos. Ships that rammed instead of retreating. A human pilot, bleeding and half-conscious, laughed as he guided his crippled craft into an alien carrier. For Earth, he whispered. The explosion was visible from the planet below. That moment echoed across the galaxy. The Galactic Council's confidence shattered. This species has no concept of acceptable loss, one counselor said quietly. No, another replied. They just value different things. On Earth, a message spread through surviving networks. They can be beaten. It wasn't propaganda. It was proof. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleets began to withdraw from certain zones, not strategically, but out of necessity. The hunters had become the hunted. Humanity was no longer defending its world. It was taking the war to the stars. And the galaxy was beginning to understand. Earth was never weak. It was restrained. The Galactic Council chamber had seen defeat before. But never confusion. The holographic displays that once showed clean, predictable lines of conquest were now filled with red warnings, distorted feeds, and missing data. Entire sections of the battlefield simply vanished. Confirm again, the High Arbiter demanded. You are saying the Seventh Fleet is retreating? The strategist hesitated. Not retreating, he corrected. Disintegrating. A low murmur spread across the chamber. This is impossible, the Krillith overlord snapped. They were outmatched. They were underestimated, the archivist AI replied. The hologram shifted, replaying footage captured by surviving alien drones. Human ships moved erratically, deliberately breaking formation. Some fled only to double back minutes later. Others accelerated straight into enemy fire, ignoring damage until their mission was complete. Why do they not disengage when damaged? A counselor asked. A pause. Because, the AI said slowly, their individual units operate with autonomy and acceptance of loss. The word tasted wrong in the chamber. Loss was something to be minimized. Calculated. Controlled. Humans did not calculate it the same way. Another feed activated. Human civilians repairing military equipment. Medical teams working under bombardment. Engineers testing weapons while standing too close. They blur the line between combatant and civilian, one species hissed. It is barbaric. It is survival, another replied. The High Arbiter slammed his staff into the floor. Enough. Increase bombardment. End their morale. A scientist spoke up, softly, but urgently. High Arbiter, morale is not declining. The chamber fell silent. Human communications show increasing cohesion, she continued. Their losses appear to be reinforcing resolve, not weakening it. Impossible. The Council watched a new transmission intercepted from Earth. A human soldier, exhausted, dirt-streaked, staring into the camera. "We didn't ask for this," he said. "But we're not running." The feed cut out. Silence followed. The archivist AI updated its threat model again. Psychological profile: humans derive unity from shared danger. Fear response: converts to aggression and innovation. One council member whispered something no one had ever said in that chamber. "What if we stop?" The reaction was immediate. "Unacceptable. We do not retreat from primitives. To withdraw is to invite chaos." But the data did not care about pride. Another fleet report arrived. The Ninth Fleet had lost command cohesion. Human interference had fragmented their communication into isolated battles, exactly the kind humans thrived in. "They are forcing us to fight on their terms," the strategist admitted. "And what are their terms?" the High Arbiter asked. The answer came from the AI. Unpredictability. Persistence. Escalation. A rare emotion surfaced among the council. Fear. One species, ancient, rarely heard, finally spoke. "We have seen this before," it said. "Long ago. A species that survives catastrophe by becoming worse than it." The chamber turned. "They are not monsters," the elder continued. "They are adaptable. That is more dangerous." A new data feed appeared. Human vessels had crossed beyond Earth's defensive perimeter. They were chasing. The invasion, once a controlled operation, had become a spreading conflict. The High Arbiter's voice lowered. "If they reach the core worlds." "They won't," the Krillith overlord insisted. "They can't." The AI did not share the confidence. Human expansion probability, wartime rising. The council had a realization no empire wanted to face. They had awakened something. A species that did not fear extinction. Because extinction had always been close. The High Arbiter finally spoke the unthinkable. "Prepare, contingency discussions." The word echoed like a fracture. For the first time in galactic history, the council was not asking how to win. They were asking how to survive humanity. The war crossed a line the moment humans learned the truth. It wasn't discovered through diplomacy or intercepted commands. It came from a damaged alien data core pulled from the wreckage of a cruiser drifting above the Pacific. Human analysts cracked it open expecting tactical data. What they found instead was intent. Population reduction models. Ecological strip mining projections. A final line stamped with cold alien logic. Planetary viability post-operation, irrelevant. Earth was never meant to be conquered. It was meant to be erased. The information spread faster than any invasion fleet ever could. Through military channels. Through emergency networks. Through whispered conversations in shelters and bunkers. They weren't here to rule us. They were here to wipe us out. Something in humanity changed. The hesitation disappeared. On Earth, a world that had argued endlessly about rules, ethics, and limits reached a silent agreement. If extinction was the alternative, then nothing was off the table. Human command structures shifted overnight. Defensive doctrine was abandoned. This was no longer about holding territory. It was about ensuring the enemy never tried this again. Factories stopped producing consumer goods and began producing weapons, some legal, some experimental, some never meant to exist outside theory. Scientists were given a single directive: make it work. On the front lines, soldiers stopped asking when relief would arrive. They understood now. There would be no relief. Only victory, or the end. Human strike forces pushed beyond Earth's orbit with renewed ferocity. Where once they had fought cautiously, now they hunted. Alien outposts vanished. Supply convoys were annihilated. Human tactics grew brutally efficient. They targeted infrastructure. They targeted logistics. They targeted morale. Captured alien transmissions revealed panic spreading through non-combatant systems. They don't stop, one message pleaded. Even when damaged. They chase us, another cried. Why do they chase us? Because running made you prey. In one engagement, a human fleet pursued a retreating alien carrier into a radiation field no galactic vessel would ever enter. Human ships followed without hesitation. They lost 3 craft. The carrier was destroyed. On Earth, people watched the footage in silence. No cheers. Just understanding. This was the cost. In a ruined city, a mother listened as distant explosions shook the horizon. She held her child tighter and whispered the same words being spoken across the planet. Never again. Human commanders made a decision that horrified the Galactic Council. They stopped responding to surrender signals. Not out of cruelty. Out of certainty. Surrender today could mean invasion tomorrow. The galaxy would learn this lesson permanently. Alien worlds that had supported the invasion, logistically, politically, economically, found themselves cut off from trade, from communication, from safety. Human cyber units spread digital chaos through galactic networks, introducing errors, delays, and mistrust. Humanity wasn't just fighting fleets. They were destabilizing an empire. An alien civilian broadcast went viral across the stars. Why are they doing this? The speaker cried. We never attacked them. The human response was simple. You didn't stop it. That message carried weight. Because humans understood something the Galactic Council never had. Survival was not an individual act. It was collective. On the Council's core worlds, citizens looked to the sky and wondered if Earth would come for them next. The answer frightened them. Because the data suggested. Humans were not satisfied with defending their home. They were ensuring no one ever threatened it again. In the depths of space, a human fleet regrouped. Their ships bore scars. Their crews bore loss. But their momentum was unstoppable. A human admiral addressed his forces. They tried to erase us, he said calmly. So we're going to erase the idea that anyone can. The fleet jumped to FTL. Toward the heart of the Galactic Council. The war was no longer about Earth. It was about the future of the galaxy. And humanity intended to shape it. The Galactic Council had always believed its core worlds were untouchable. Layered defense grids. Ancient fleets. Weapons capable of shattering moons. No enemy had ever reached them. Humanity did not arrive as an enemy fleet. They arrived as a consequence. Without warning, human vessels exited FTL inside the outer defensive perimeter, something no galactic navy would attempt. The maneuver cost them ships immediately as automated defense platforms opened fire. They didn't retreat. They pushed through. Alien commanders screamed as human ships ignored perfect firing solutions, choosing instead to close distance, to disrupt, to collide. They're inside the grid, someone shouted. That's impossible. It was reckless. It was suicidal. It worked. Human electronic warfare units unleashed chaos. Defense systems designed for symmetry and precision choked on conflicting inputs, false signals, and deliberate overloads. In minutes, a fortress that had stood for millennia was blind. Then the human flagship emerged. It was a monstrosity, alien hull plating welded to human frameworks, weapons ripped from half a dozen species and forced to function together through sheer stubborn engineering. It did not broadcast a threat. It broadcast a message. Every frequency. Every language. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the transmission activated. A human representative appeared on the central display. No armor. No insignia. Just a tired face and steady eyes. We did not seek the stars to conquer them, the human said. We came to explore. To learn. Images followed. Burning cities on Earth. Alien ships firing on population centers. Data logs stamped with planetary viability, irrelevant. You decided our home was expendable. The representative leaned forward. That was your mistake. Behind the speaker, human fleets advanced deeper into Council space. Strategic targets went dark, not randomly, but deliberately. Power hubs, shipyards, communication relays. The message continued. We are not here to rule you. We are here to make sure this never happens again. The High Arbiter stood, fury and fear warring in his voice. You cannot win this war. You are outnumbered. The human cut him off. We already did. The display shifted to live feeds. Council defense fleets retreating. Allied worlds refusing to send reinforcements. Trade routes collapsing. The Empire was breaking under its own weight. Human forces executed the final phase. They didn't destroy the Council chamber. They surrounded it. Human ships locked into position, weapons charged, but unfired. A final transmission went out. Surrender, the human voice said. Not to us. To reality. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the Council's shields powered down. The war ended not with annihilation, but with humiliation. Human fleets withdrew from the core worlds within hours, leaving behind no occupation force, no governors, no demands for tribute. Only one thing. A data package uploaded to every galactic network. The Soul Accords. Its terms were simple. Earth and its system are sovereign and untouchable. No preemptive extermination of developing species. Any violation will be answered decisively. The Council had no choice but to agree. As human ships turned back toward their distant blue world, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They fought an empire and won. Not through domination, but through refusal to die. Back on Earth, the skies slowly cleared. Cities rebuilt. Scars remained, but so did memory. The stars no longer felt distant. They felt aware. Across the galaxy, a new truth settled into every civilization's consciousness. Earth was not a primitive world. It was a warning. The war did not end with celebration. There were no galactic parades. No monuments built in the stars. No songs of conquest sung by humanity. There was only memory. Across the galaxy, the invasion of Earth was no longer referred to as a war. It became a lesson. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, repaired, reinforced, and forever changed, a new law was engraved into the central archive. Not debated. Not challenged. Galactic Statute 0-5. Yes, 0-5. Never provoke humanity. The number was deliberate. 5 fleets lost. 5 core systems destabilized. 5 months that rewrote galactic history. Alien academies taught it as doctrine. Humanity was not the strongest species. Not the fastest. Not the most advanced. But they were the most dangerous when threatened. Because humans did not fight to conquer. They fought to ensure survival. And survival, to them, justified everything. Trade slowly resumed. Borders stabilized. But something fundamental had shifted. Civilizations that once expanded through extermination now hesitated. Developing worlds were observed, but left alone. No one wanted to be the next Earth. On distant planets, parents warned their children. Do not wake sleeping predators. And then they would add, quietly. Especially humans. Back on Earth, life continued. Reconstruction took years. Healing took longer. Humans argued again. Disagreed. Fell back into old habits. But now, when they looked at the night sky, it looked back. Earth had become a classified system. A protected world. A watched world. Not because the galaxy feared humanity's technology, but because it feared what humans became when cornered. In a small observatory, a human child asked a question that echoed across the stars. Are there others out there? The scientist smiled softly. Yes, she said. And they know we're here. The child looked thoughtful. Are they scared of us? The scientist paused. Not scared, she replied. Respectful. Far beyond the Sol system, alien sensors tracked Earth carefully. No fleets approached. No probes crossed its borders. Somewhere in the vast silence of space, an unspoken rule held firm. Earth was left alone. Because the galaxy had learned something it would never forget. Humanity was not a conqueror species. Humanity was a consequence. And provoking them was insanity.